If you're anything like me, um, which let's all be real, you don't want to be nothing like me. But whenever I play like games like MMORPGs or tactical games, I always kind of lean towards characters that always had the ability to like give like debuffs. Like I was always a team player. I like playing characters where I could just sit back, throw a bunch of debuffs on folks and crowd control on folks. So then that way that my team can come and just kill them off. When I used to play Lineage 2 or any other game like that where PvP was very evident and was very important, I love just sitting back and then just doing these type of skills, stunning them, taunting them. I just love that kind of tactic because I'm a firm believer that spreading debuffs and crowd control is something that just helps you win battles, and it's very frustrating. You know, when you're stun locking somebody and they can't move for shit. I love that feeling of just how frustrated they get, and that love is one of the reasons why I enjoy the Hangmen. The Hangmen are a group of units that kind of revolve around that play style of having debuffs, and once you have those debuffs, you're able to get stronger units in order to kill off these high priority units. And that's one of the reasons why I want to make this video, and why I'm going to be doing other videos for other characters and other camps. But right now we're going to talk about the Hangmen, so let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so the Hangmen are a sort of like police force in area under D'Artagnan's rule. They cause a lot of distress and just chaos wherever they are. They kind of are like inquisitors. They're the law basically, and they kind of play that role as well in this game as well. They're very powerful, and they are just a really good group of debuffers. All of them have some sort of an ability or a way to debuff their enemies so that they can jump and pile on them and deal and dish out suitable extra damage. All of the hangmen except for one, and which is the one we're going to talk about first, they all have a skill that's called Settlement of the Hanged Men. And that skill, they all have them in, except for Enforcer, who gets it at rank 7. All the other ones get them at rank 3. But the Settlement of the Hangman is a passive that after an attack, if the target is dying and has the Hangman's mark, it deals an additional piercing damage equal to 30% of the target's HP. When damage is dealt, the mark will be removed. So you're going the goal is to put this hangman's mark onto the targets, and then have your hangman attack the targets so that it's able to do that extra overlining damage. What the hangman's mark does is being attacked by certain skills will cause the character to receive additional effects from the attack. That's all it does. But each character has a certain interaction, rather in their traits or in their skills. Well, no, just mostly in their traits. Some of them have them in their skills. That will, once the hangman's mark is on there, they have like a very strong interaction to them. So since we're already on Enforcer, let's just go ahead and take a look at it. So when you're looking at Enforcer, it increases movement by, his trait is increases movement by 1, and at the end of the turn it locks onto the closest enemy within 5 tile radius to inflict the hangman's mark. When attacked by an enemy with the hangman's mark, it takes 5% less damage. So he has his traits where just by ending the turn, it's going to add the hangman's mark on somebody, and once you get to him maxed out to 5 stars, he takes 20% less damage whenever he's attacked by other units that have the hangman marks on them. So it's really good. It makes him tankier, makes him sustain. He does a suitable amount of extra damage. But that's kind of like his interaction. And then of course, when you're looking into his other skill kits, he has a lot of debuffs. This one inflicts 2 random level 1 attribute debuffs on. This one right here inflicts speed 3, which is really strong. And there was another one. This one right here steals 2 random buffs from a target. So whenever he's hit by whenever he's hit by somebody, if they have buffs on them, he just steals 2 random buffs off of them, which is really good. Which again, it just makes them weaker. And then he has this one right here, which does an attack 1 debuff whenever he does his basic attack, which is really nice. And Enforcer, he's a really good, like a really good, decent unit. And just being able to apply the Hangman's Mark makes him just a very viable, makes him a very viable unit for certain situations if you're trying to play the role of consistently debuffing the enemies so that you can overrun them. The next one that we're going to talk about is Stinger, where the Stinger's trait is at the end of the turn, he locks onto the closest enemy within 3 tile radius of the character and deals 20% physical damage and inflicts the Hangman's Mark. When attacking an enemy with the Hangman's Mark, it increases his damage by 10%. So he gets a 30% damage increase just off the rip on level at first star when he attacks somebody with Hangman's Mark. And then when you go ahead and you max it out, he gets a 60% increase, 60% damage increase when he attacks somebody who has the Hangman's Mark on them. And it's a very, he's a very good assassin seeker character. And he also provides just that same type of damage where he has the usual stuff like Flurry of Stabs, which is very good skill. He applies 3 stacks of infection with Infected Dagger. He gets his settlement of the Hangman's Mark at rank 3. He has increased skills for like any other seeker would have. He has this one right here, which applies 3 stacks of infection on somebody, or this one right here, which provides the isolate debuff, which is a really good debuff. The character becomes immune to allies' aura effects. So when he hits and attacks somebody with this skill, let's say someone's running a build that's using Gloria and they're getting those aura effects off of Gloria. You hit somebody with this ability and it right before the attack happens, it applies that isolate. They're no longer getting those auras, they're no longer getting those extra buffs, and therefore they're going to be getting hit for more damage. And then it also gets the cancel assist, where they're unable to perform any assist attacks, including assisting cover attacks, healings, and assisting revenge for 2 turns. And like this is a really good skill to use and get with him. And then of course he has cancel active skills and on injured targets. And then he has attack debuff as well. So again, like as you can see, they're just applying debuffs on these characters, on their targets, and with that Hangman Mark, it just gives them those extra damages. Like I said, getting him maxed out to 5 stars, 60% more damage on those characters. It's really nice, really good. And then you have a character like Night Raven. And Night Raven increases attack increases by 10%, and then when attacking an enemy with the Hangman's Mark, the damage increases by 10%. So anyone who has a Hangman's Mark, they do 20% more damage. And then when you're looking at this trait maxed out, they're getting 50% more damage on. They're getting 50% more. Well, it says attack and 30% damage. So even though those are considered 2 different. They're considered 2 different buff stacks. So it's attack plus 20 and then damage is 30%. But it's still 5 stars. It's going to be doing significantly more damage. And then when it comes to their skills, they get the settlement right here. Their first skill, they get a life steal right here, or they get this skill right here, which gives random level 2 attribute debuffs, which is really nice. Then they have this one right here, which is a passive that at the end of the turn inflicts 2 random level 1 attribute debuffs on a random enemy. They have the protection, not the protection of darkness. They have this one right here, the glare, which when they get hit, they can inflict damage to. They can also do this skill AoE that does cancel passive skills and cancel reaction skills. This one right here that has a armor piercing, which is really nice. And then of course they have the basics, which applies inflicts has a chance to inflict sleep. So just an overabundance of assortment of debuffs in order to again control the field so that they're able to kill their priority targets. Especially if you land the sleep with Night Raven, it's really nice because then you could sleep targets for one turn, and once those targets are asleep, you can go and focus that the rest of your turn on trying to kill off somebody. So like if they have a healer and you know the healer is going to end up coming up and trying to do that, if you use Night Raven to hit the healer and they actually land the sleep, you're good. You can just focus and kill the DPS and then kill the healer later on the next turn. So that kind of type of strategies that you can use, but again, it's all about them debuffs. Now the character that I really like is Candlelight, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm probably gonna be using Candlelight a lot more because Candlelight has just really interesting interaction. She's the only one who does not have the settlement of the Hanged Man, but she does have her own skill, which is pretty unique, and I really do enjoy it. If you look at her trait, is before being attacked from the front or the side, it inflicts the Hangman's Mark on the attacker for one turn. So anyone who attacks her, they're getting Hangman's Mark. Allies within 5 tiles around the character take 10% less damage if the attackers have the Hangman's Mark. So she is going to be an all-out suppressing the damage of anyone who has Hangman's Mark and suppressing it by 10%, which is really, really nice. And if you max it out, it stays on the attacker for 2 turns and it's 20% less damage, which is phenomenal. 20% less damage from everybody in the 5 tiles around you, as long as they have that Hangman's Mark. And if you're running a Hangman team, everyone is going to have that Hangman's Mark, so it's going to provide that less damage from an overall. So that's like one of another skill that's very unique only to her. And before I talked about her really, really cool applications, I want to talk about this right here. So this is the skill that she has in place of the settlement of the Hangman, and this is called Wanted Notice. It's a healing skill that inflicts the Hangman's Mark and speed down on the target, lasting for 2 turns, and then it heals all allies within 4 tiles around that target for 65% M attack, and grants all the allies movement 1 for 1 turn. So she kind of brings all of the Hangmen together, and she's kind of the core center strategy for using the Hangman, where she comes in, she'll focus a high priority target. So where she's going to target the enemy's healer, she drops the Wanted Notice skill on them, and it gives them the Hangman's Mark. And then all of the Hangmen that's around that healer, they're all going to get increased movement and they're all going to be healed, while the healer is going to have a speed too, which means is that it's going to drop their speed down like 100. Yeah, it's going to drop the speed down 100 for 2 turns, and then they're all going to get the Hangman's Mark, which means that they all are going to get those extra benefits and extra bonuses. Or if you're taking out a high priority DPS, you're going to make that DPS do 20% less damage as long as Candlelight is nearby, and also all the other additional abilities, as well as the additional debuffs that the other 3 are going to get. But one of the biggest reasons why I like Candlelight and what I'm going to be using her for is for this energy tree right here. She is, from what I've seen so far, the only unit that gives a significant amount of energy to her teammates. So with the rank 1, it's a P defense, which gives an aura of 30% P defense for everybody around her. And then she has this skill, Inner Light, which restores 1 energy to all other allies within 3 tiles around the target. So very nice little big AoE that gives 1 energy to everybody. And then this right here, she has energy recovery, that whenever she's hit by an attack, she receives 1 energy. So if she ever gets hit, she gets 1 energy. And then you have this skill right here, which is called Special Mission, which restores 4 energy to the target ally and grants them attack 2, magic defense 2, and P defense 2 for 2 turns, which is a really good skill. And then the last skill right here, which is the life steal, 20% life steal, so that gives her some sustain. Or you can use Sealing Attack, which just applies more debuffs, cancel passive skills on injured targets, which you can also do that if you want to, but the last rank 9 is not all that important to me. More likely I would end up using the Feverish Attack just to give sustain for her. But above all, it's just she's an energy battery, and she's able to also grant some pretty interesting buffs, because even if you get the rank 3 skill right here, which grants the target attack 2, P defense 2, M defense 2, and dispels all attribute debuffs from the target, granting immunity to those debuffs. All these are lasting for 2 turns. This right here is such a good skill to use on your damage dealer, and it only costs us 2 energy. It does have a 3-turn cooldown, but that's fine. It all, you can use this, and you can combine that with the rank 7 skill, which pretty much does the same thing, except for you don't get the immunity and you get the 4 energy. So you can technically have 2 characters on the field that are getting these very strong buffs. And you got, like I said, you can drop the one right here for whoever is going to be like the up in the front melee, so that they don't get like pushed back, stunned, or anything like that. And yeah, so Candlelight is really good. She kind of brings the whole strategy together for the Hangman, which I think is really good, and I really do enjoy that. Now I wanted to talk and touch bases with the legendaries, because you have characters like Nungle here, who she has a skill, I believe it's her rank 7. Yeah, so right here was when attacking enemies who have the Hangman's mark, it increases crit by 30 and crit damage by 30, and additionally recovers 1 energy when landing a crit hit. And this is a really good skill. And then also her rank 9 skill right here, which is makes her basic attack a 85%, and it provides move 1 in the Hangman's mark. This works really well with the other Hangman characters, so that it provides Hangman's mark, you get the extra added abilities, and it makes her hit harder because she has a higher chance of doing crit damage. So it's really nice and something that's really good to use, and this just adds on to why she's such a very phenomenal and powerful damage dealer. And then you also have Nurgle, who only really has 1 skill, which is his rank 3, which is this one right here. So it's a debuff. It inflicts the Hangman's mark, and it also does attack, lower attack 2 and vulnerable 2 on all enemies in the line. So this right here, it provides Hangman's mark and these debuffs. So it just, again, it works well with all of your Hangman units, so that you're able to get all those extra benefits, and it's just more debuffs. And then it really all just comes together with D'Artagnan. D'Artagnan being just the boss Giga Chat that he is. If you look at his aura right here, it gives that 10% attack and 20% defense, and all allies deal 20% more damage to the enemies affected by 3 or more debuffs. And this is why having all those debuffs is so important from all those other units from the Hangman, is because when you have D'Artagnan in the mix, it literally provides an extra additional 20% on top of all their other benefits in order for them to provide and just do significantly more damage. So above all, the Hangman, if you want to try to make a team, I would definitely say that making the Hangman is really good. Not really good as far as like, oh, it's the best team in the world. I'm saying that it's a team that's going to be useful, and I'm sure that you're going to be able to do content in the game by making and just having a Hangman unit team. You can, if you're looking for like a good healer, because Candlelight's not a healer, she's a buffer, debuffer, assist. So if you're looking to put a healer, you can definitely put Inan on her on that team. She's going to get D'Artagnan's 10% buffs, and she's going to get that 20% more damage because of all the debuffs. It's going to be everybody else. So you can definitely put her on there as a healer. And yeah, so that's it. So I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope you guys definitely enjoyed the video. And I really hope that, like, the Hangman is probably my favorite. I think they are my favorite when it comes to units. And I definitely will be using the Hangman as well, just because I love that type of play style. Um, I'm definitely using Candlelight. So, you know, once I get more resources and I'm able to allocate more resources to them. But yeah, hopefully I'll get you guys in the next video. And please, like I said, could you please subscribe, like, comment down below if you have any questions, if you have any opinions on it. Definitely helps me out. We're trying to hit 1,000 by the end of the year. So definitely make it, you know, feel great if you guys can go ahead and just drop that subscribe so that we can go ahead and hit that goal. And I appreciate. I'll catch you guys in the next one. While we'll be doing more things like this with the other units and the ones, you know, the ones that have synergies with each other. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Subscribe.